Okay. Well, for those who don't know or don't remember, my name is Bill Kearney, and my company is Integrated Financial Concepts, and of course we're here for college planning, and this is your boot camp. So I kind of look at tonight as really your official launch into senior year. Okay. The purpose of this meeting tonight for you guys is this is your meeting. Okay. I would like for this to be interactive. I'd like for you to ask questions. I encourage you to ask questions. So if I'm going through some things and you've got a question, just know that 3 or 4 other people in the room probably have the same question. So don't be ashamed to ask a question. All right. We're going to go through a lot of different things tonight to kind of make sure we're all caught up with where we need to be. So first of all, who in here is here because your parents made you come tonight? A few of you? Okay. And the rest of you want to be here, but maybe you don't want to admit it. And there's another group that came just for the free food. Good. Okay, I know. But hopefully this will kind of get you guys caught back up with where you need to be and where we ought to be for this part of the process. And I just want to tell you, I'll tell you a couple of stories, and they're personal stories to kind of relate to where you guys are. And hopefully you'll understand kind of the impact of being able to take this process under your own control in your senior year. Okay. First, I want to tell you a story about enrollment management. This is something that your parents are going to approach you about as you get into senior year. Does anybody know what enrollment management is? You guys heard that term before? Okay. This is a concept that we teach families where what we're doing is we're giving your parents some tools to help you be successful in school and guide you through school to make sure you stay on track and those types of things. What I want you to know is that when your parents approach you with this idea, and it may not be until February or March or April of your senior year, but when they approach you with this idea, they are not approaching you because they think you're bad kids, or they think you're going to mess up and screw up in school, or they don't trust you. None of those things are true. As a matter of fact, if they didn't trust you or they didn't feel like you were going to be good in school, they probably wouldn't be going through this process with you at all. So the second thing about this is when they start talking to you about enrollment management, just know this is my idea, not their idea, so don't blame that. They're just the messenger. Here's how it works. When I went through school, I graduated from North Mecklenburg High School, just down the road from here in 1997. How many of you were born in 97 or later? All of you were later, right? Okay, so that's ancient history. There was just over 1,000 kids in my graduating class. And the reason for that is that Hopewell and Huff high schools didn't exist. I don't even know if Lake Norman High School was here. Maybe it was. But those high schools were not around. So everyone went to North Meck. It was in the northern part of Mecklenburg County. Okay? When I graduated from school, I graduated 10th in my class. I was a pretty good student. My parents assumed all along that because I was a good student in high school, I would be successful and just continue to do the same thing in college. Okay? Now, I went to the University of Tennessee. Does anybody have Tennessee on your list? You get special treatment. Second helpings. When I went to Tennessee, I'll talk about the application process for that in a minute, and how I went through it, and how I messed it up, and how you guys are not going to mess it up. When I went to Tennessee, I figured out pretty quickly that they don't take attendance in my classes. Okay? And these classes that I'm taking, these freshman level classes, they're not difficult. They're not any more difficult than an AP class or an IB program. I went through both. Okay? So I very quickly realized, fall in East Tennessee is cold and rainy and it snows. And I don't want to go to class at 8 in the morning and walk up that hill. There's a thing called the hill that you have to walk up to go to class. It's 212 steps at the top. I don't want to do that at 8 in the morning, so I'm not going. What I'm going to do is go and show up for the test. I'll cram and study the night before. I can do this. Well, a long story short, I came home that first semester with a 2.2 GPA. There was a letter in the envelope that said I was on academic probation. Now, my parents wore it as a badge of honor that they wanted to pay for my 4 years to go through school. They had always told me that. That was their dream, because they didn't go to college. I was the second person in my family ever to go to college. I abused that privilege when I went there. I didn't know how to manage my time. I didn't realize what it was going to be like. I had no idea what college was going to be like. And my parents just assumed because I was a good student I would do well when I got there. So my dad paid the bill, before I left to go to school for the first semester. That report card comes home. My dad's a Marine. That report card comes home and says, that $9,000 that you spent on your son, yeah, he just wasted it away. He's at 2.2, he's on academic probation, he has a 90% chance that we're not going to invite him back for his sophomore year. And guess what else is in that envelope? The bill for the next semester. That was the worst Christmas break of my life. Okay? Now, I got back on track after that break. And I graduated with honors, but I didn't graduate in 4 years. One semester got me off track. I also had to take summer classes, which I had to pay for. And there's something at Tennessee, most of your colleges will have this too, called mini-term. It's in the month of May. You can take one class for 6 hours a day for 4 weeks, and you can replace that class that you failed the first semester. And you have to pay for that too. Okay? So one semester like that got me off track. And I never recovered as far as catching back up. And it took me 4.5 years to graduate. So sitting in this room right now, just so you guys know, the national average at public institutions in the United States is 25% of kids graduate on time in 4 years. That means that if your parents don't do something like this with you, and if you don't work with them on this, 75% of you right here won't graduate in 4 years. And only 60% of you will graduate in 6 years. Okay? That's not what we want to have happen. We want you to be successful, enjoy your experience, and stay on track. And this enrollment management piece that your parents are going to talk to you about how to do it, it's not a punitive thing. It's not because you're going to be in trouble or anything like that. It's to help guide you because your parents have walked down this road. Okay? And if you get mad about it, get mad at me. All right? I'll walk you guys through how to do that. Our families and our students that use that enrollment management program that your parents will talk to you about, 90% of them are now graduating on time in 4 years. It works. Okay? It'll keep you on track. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to start out with that. All right, so let's do this. First of all, I want to get an idea. How many of you have kind of narrowed your list of schools down to say your final list? Who's got their final list kind of nailed down? Most of you? How many of you are getting close? You're kind of close, but not there yet. Okay, good. That's good. You're on a good pace. Where you are now is basically some of the schools that started in August. We used to say September and October, but you can actually start some of your applications in August. And your timeline going forward here is August through October to have your applications completed. Okay. By the way, this presentation, as well as about 5 or 6 other documents, the boot camp document, they're all going to be placed in a Dropbox folder, and I'm going to invite all of you and your parents to it. Okay? The videos that are on here will be in there, everything, so you guys can come back and review this information. I'd like you to take some notes. You might want to take notes, but you're going to get all of this too. Okay? There's kind of a take-home kit that everyone gets as well. All right? So that's your timeline. Now, why do you want to not follow the timeline or the deadlines that are on your application? Some of them are going to be December. Some of them are going to be January, February, March 1st. You have that amount of time to get them turned in. Why do you not want to do that? Does anybody know? Somebody want to take a guess? I'm not going to bite your head off, I promise. I'm nice.
You wouldn't get as much scholarship money?
That's it. I mean, that's part of it. Scholarship, and this phase right here is the acceptance phase. Okay, so do you want your application to be in the stack in August, September, October timeframe when your admissions officers are fresh? Or do you want your application to be in the stack that stands between that officer and their Christmas break? Which one do you think would give you a better opportunity at admissions? Which one shows you're thinking ahead, you're being proactive, right? So that's why we try to guide you on this timeline here. So if you can have these applications completed. Now I'm going to tell you, the months of August, September, October are awful for you guys because you're going to be starting back at school, what, Monday, right? So you got all that being thrown on. You got new classes, new schedule, and you didn't have this last year, now you got 6 or 7 applications you have to do with essays and short answers. I know, it stinks. I've been doing this for just under 10 years. And just know that if your friends at school are not overwhelmed or stressed, they're either lying to you or they're not really going through the process the way they should. Okay? So if you feel overwhelmed, you guys get emails from me, you know how to contact me. Contact me. I'll talk to you about it. You don't have to go through that period alone. And I've coached a lot of kids. I've got kids now that have graduated and are doctors and lawyers, and they've been through this whole process. So I kind of know what you're going to go through. It's not going to be fun, but once you're done with this part, your job is pretty much done here. Your job is pretty much done. Okay? Now, you guys are guinea pigs this year, class of 2017. Okay? They used to have a FAFSA submission timeline of January 1st. So every class before you, we couldn't turn those in until January 1st. Does everybody know what FAFSA is? It's your financial aid form. My team is going to fill that out for you guys. You don't have to worry about that. Your parents don't have to worry about it. There'll be some things they have to do, but we'll complete that for you. But they changed that deadline to October 1st now, so we can start submitting these October 1st for you. All right? November is CSS profile. Anybody applying to Davidson or Duke or any private schools? Yes? Okay, so some of you are going to need the CSS profile form completed, which we will do. If you're applying to any schools that need it, this is why we need you to submit your list to Anne Marie. She's probably been emailing you guys asking for a college list. Then we know which schools need what forms. Okay? Late fall, early spring, we get college acceptance letters. Now, I got question marks on February through April on award letters. This is the way it used to work. March 15th to April 15th is when these award letters for financial aid would come back from the colleges. And it was a scramble, because we would have 2 or 3 weeks to go back and negotiate with the school. You guys have 6 letters in front of you. You and your family are trying to figure out what school you're going to. So, and a lot of your other friends have already declared back in November where they're going to go to school. So what I want you to see with this timeline is I don't quite know when your award letters are going to come. I think they're going to come sooner this year, but we've never been through it. None of us have been through it. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the award letters that you receive, and I need you guys to email those to Anne Marie or email them to me when you get the award letters. We will send you reminders on this because we're going to see if we can negotiate with your college for more aid, for more money. Okay? And then May 1st is National College Decision Day. That's our timeline for the next 8 months or so. Okay? Any questions on that? And you're quiet. Okay. Now, you guys, sounds like you've done a good job narrowing your list of schools. Have you guys been using INGUS, the color-coded system that we have with colleges, or are you using something you've been using INGUS? Does anybody not feel comfortable with INGUS or that system, or hasn't really been using it, or you guys all kind of been using it? Okay. How many of you have listened to any of the teleconferences? They started in January. Have you guys been listening to those? Have they been helpful at all? Some of them are more geared to you, some of them are geared to your parents. Okay. Anybody having trouble with career selection or anything like that, or majors, trying to figure out what major? Yes? Okay. If you don't have a login for your MCP software, this is the test that you did where we did testing on interest, value, skills, personality. You guys remember that? That's where that is done. So if you need some help with that, I want you to email me. You're going to get information from me. Just reply back and say, hey, Bill, when you're talking about MCP, I need help. I want to make sure that Anne Marie gets with you guys and does that. Okay? Now, the August teleconference is about early action and early decision. You guys know the difference between the two. Everybody good on that? Or do you want me to go over it? Go over it? Okay. This is in the August teleconference too. It's recorded. It's put in INGUS. So if you haven't listened to this, you want to go back in there and listen to it. It's under the Communications tab in INGUS. Okay? Very simply put, the difference here is between a binding and a non-binding decision from the college. A lot of times what kids want to do is they want to apply early They want to get the decision back as quickly as they can. And early action will allow you to do that, but you are not contractually bound to then go to that school. So it's going to generally follow the same early decision timelines, but you're not bound to go to that school. Early decision is different. They're probably going to limit the number of schools you can apply to, the college will. And if you get in, you have to go to that school. We never recommend you do early decision. Ever. Because you will totally short circuit your financial aid process. The common thought here is that if we do early decision, it gives me a better chance of getting admitted, right? May or may not be true, but it definitely means that your school is going to cost probably more than it should. Because you're essentially walking onto a car lot and you're saying, oh, I want that car, I'll pay anything for it. With that. So do the early action, you'll get the decision back just as quickly, and it won't limit your choices on your schools. The other thing down at the bottom there says, don't wait to send in your applications. Has anybody taken an SAT or an ACT in September or October? Don't wait to send in your applications. You'll see this when you start filling them out. It will say, when are you taking the SAT? And you'll put October. Or ACT, you'll put September. You don't need to wait for your scores to come back. You don't have to do that. Send your applications in. They know those scores are going to follow. Okay? All right. I want to show you guys a video just on some application advice, and then we'll talk about this. And then I'll tell you some things you guys can be doing right now when you get back to school.
Hi, I'm Imogen. I'm Mary. And as two freshmen, we know exactly what you're going through right now. We know you guys have been working really hard on your applications, so we thought we would take you inside the admissions office. Follow us. So this is where we're going to have you guys meet some admissions officers and hopefully get some tips on your applications. Megan, Trevor, who graduated in 2010, and Eddie are all assistant directors of admission who leave for a wide variety of countries and states. Emily is an associate director of admission